Hello and welcome back. Today we are talking about chapter 4 of Dane Ortlund's book, Gentle and Lowly. And the topic of this chapter is the sympathy of Christ. Maybe a way to help us get thinking about this chapter and what the chapter is all about is to maybe think about a hot day in the summer in the South. Maybe there's a 17-year-old boy out there in the parking lot and he's gathering up all the carts and it's just a hot day and nobody even wants to be outside and he's doing this work and he's in his uniform and he just doesn't want to be out there. And while he's doing that, up drives a guy in a Ferrari, let's say. And this guy gets out of his car and starts walking in and he looks over at the kid gathering up the carts and he says, "Keep your chin up, kid. It's really not that bad." And the kid kind of says back, "Well, you wouldn't believe how hard it is to do this job on a day like this." And the guy turns at him and looks at him and says, "Well, actually, I would, because actually 20 years ago, I was in this lot gathering these carts. And so, it's hard, but you'll get through it, and better days are ahead." And so, and maybe as the guy walks away, perhaps what this teenage boy is thinking is perhaps what he's just experienced there is a little bit of sympathy. A little bit of compassion that this guy who didn't have to talk to him at all has said, I know what it's like. And the guy didn't say, "I know that it must be hard to do work like that," and he's talking about work he's never done. No, as a matter of fact, the guy is saying, "Look, I know because I've done this exact job." And the sympathy and the compassion that comes from such a person in that situation, I think really makes a connection with us. And that's what we need to think about when we go into thinking about the sympathy of Christ. And in this chapter, Dane Ortlund is talking about the sympathy of Christ. He's using as his text for this chapter, Hebrews 4:15. "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses." And what he's getting at here in this chapter is that Jesus, when he put on flesh, he took on weakness. He knew what it was to be weak. And there's a sense then in which Jesus, when he hears us come to him with troubles and with weakness and with opposition, Jesus hears us as one who we might say is in solidarity with us. He knew what it was to be rejected. He knew what it was to have pain. He knew what it was to toil. And having come through it, he has sympathy for us when we are in trouble, right? And Jesus does that as one who has experienced many of the same troubles that we have suffered. The real context of this passage speaks about Jesus' ability to sympathize with us because he's undergone temptation. He was tempted like we are, yet without sin. And yet the experience of Jesus was not just his ability to go through temptation, but his ability or the experience that he had of going through opposition, trouble, pain, and so on. And in all of those ways, we can come to the Lord knowing that he cares about us. Too often when we think about Jesus and him coming into the world, our thoughts mainly reside around something very important, actually. He came and he died on the cross and he rose again, and we can be saved by his saving work on the cross. And that's true, by the way. The payoff, though, when we think only in those terms, is you will have it better when you get to heaven. You'll have a better eternity. So just buckle down now, but later on, it'll all be worth it. And that is, of course, true, but it actually is a bit too narrow, and it doesn't really do justice to our verse. See, our verse says he knows what it's like to go through trouble, to go through suffering, and so on. And his heart, when he sees us go through suffering, is to be sympathetic toward us, right? When we go through trouble, he has sympathy for us. His heart is full of compassion for you in your trouble. Again, so if you are in trouble, take it to the Lord. But take it to the Lord who he's not the sort of Lord who doesn't know what it's like to have trouble. He's the one who knows what it is to be a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. He knows. He's been in our place before. And so we go to him knowing that he will have sympathy for us. He will have compassion for us from his very heart, right? And toward the end of the chapter, Ortlund quotes from John Owen. He says, "Christ is inclined from his own heart and affections to give us help and relief and he is inwardly moved during our suffering and trials with a sense and fellow feeling of them. Again, what we're seeing here is that Christ is not disconnected, or not. Christ is trying to try to work up, wondering what it might be like for people to be in trouble. No. He was in trouble. He experienced trouble. He experienced grief. And so because he has been through it, he is quite affectionate toward us. His heart goes out to us when he sees us in trouble. And so when we call on him, know that we're calling on one who knows what it's like, one whose heart is stirred up to see us in such trouble. He cares for us. And so we would be boldened to call out to him. And to know that when we call out to him, his heart is really just there and ready to be of help to us. And may that encourage us to call out to him, and then find a bit of commonality there with Christ since he took on flesh, that he knows our trouble and he cares for us and he is here to help us.